Man, gen rushing is already annoying. Why the heck do we have to add even more gen rush perks? Behavior, what the heck? What? I mean, I just think it's a little much. Okay, I just think it's a wee bit much. Don't hurt me. Listen, I'm just trying to be honest. I'm just trying to be real with my community. Okay, I'm sorry. Hello everybody and welcome back to another Dead by Daylight commentary video. I'm sorry that you can probably hear that I am still very sick. I came down with the flu over the weekend and I'm still getting over it. So sorry if I sound a little bit nasally and gross. I'm doing the best I can, but I didn't want to miss out on giving you guys my thoughts and feelings and review of the chapter that just released, the Stranger Things chapter 2 with good old Vecna and 11 and Dustin that came through with it as well. Like I said though, because I am still pretty sick, this is probably going to be more of a classic commentary video where there's not a lot of bits and bobs, jokes and bits going on. So if you like the classic stuff, today's the day for you. Let's go ahead and get to the thick of it here. The biggest W coming out of this chapter, at least in my opinion, is that release Vecna has not been heavily nerfed from PTB Vecna. This is something that rightfully so a lot of people have been afraid of concerning behavior's past track record of releasing a character super strong just to nerf them later, which leaves a lot of players feeling like they kind of got ripped off. However, Vecna only got 2 nerfs and they weren't really substantial nerfs. The first one being that there's now a 1-second cooldown after exiting his undergate power, and there is a cooldown increase from 1.25 to 1.5 when you're canceling your vine attack ability. So essentially less zoning on both ends of the power, but only slightly so. When I was playing today, I basically didn't notice these at all. The undergate one I noticed a tiny bit, but realistically it didn't affect my games basically at all. But like I said, this is great because this has been what I would think to be a bad habit that behavior has shown over time, which is to forward a character super strong and then draw it back later once they've kind of got you. Characters like Ghoul, like Chucky come to mind, characters that released in states that they clearly weren't really going to stay in just so they can get adjustments later after people got used to it. And to this day, people still hate the Chucky changes. You're already telling me down in the comments below. Yeah, I'm calling you out. Yeah, you right there. You're already writing a long comment about how Chucky got nerfed and he still sucks to this day. I know it. I know you're already saying it. The people who loved Manual Scamper loved them more than just about anything in this game. The Manual Scamper homies are devoted, and you know what? Good on you for that. You know, that I'm glad there's something you feel super passionate about that you will defend. But yeah, behavior has essentially kept Vecna from his PTB version up to the live version without basically any changes. So if you liked him in the PTB, you're definitely going to like him now. Speaking of liking Vecna is a very divisive character. I've noticed both on social media and in my Twitch stream today when I was streaming at twitch.tv/Mr. when I was playing Vecna today, that a lot of people will come in saying they absolutely despised Vecna or they absolutely loved him. And this was so weird to see how there would be people coming in saying he's actually dog water and he's terrible and I'm never going to play him again. And I feel like I'm obligated to buy him because of Stranger Things, but otherwise I'm never going to play him again. Or we would go to the other end where it was like, wow, he's really fun and really balanced, really well made, and I'm going to P100 him, and this is great. Like, it was like night and day in my chat today. It was wild. So what I noticed based on what I played in the PTB and what I played all day today is that a common reason that this divide happens between players is that Vecna has kind of a moderate skill floor. He's not easy to just pick up and plug and play. There's a lot of aspects of his ability that seem like they would be super devastating, but require a lot of nuance to pull off correctly. The main one being the undergate. The undergate is that little teleport ability that he has where he goes down and he moves and then he pops up out of the ground. A lot of people assume this ability's primary purpose is just to either injure or build those stacks for the big Doom clock mode, which I don't have the name of off the top of my head. But it is actually quite the opposite. If people play correctly, if the survivors know exactly where you're going to be popping up in that central point, if they hold W away from you, it's almost impossible to hit them. But people have taken this as it's impossible to hit the undergate at all. When I've been playing, I've realized that I use the undergate mostly as a movement tool, but when you get somebody in a choke point, whether that be in like a narrow hallway on Midwich, or I was getting it a lot on Ormond, the Ormond main building, which kind of makes sense because there's a lot of like you got the railing, which is a narrow place you can't really dodge a lot with. The upstairs railing you can't really dodge with. Even downstairs, which is like the flat plane, you still have like a lot of couches and like the bar and stuff that you can't really move and wiggle a lot to hold W away from it. So when I was using like the undergate in those like choke points, I was basically hitting it every single time like people already want it to do. It's just that I know that like I need to hold and use it specifically in those choke points, otherwise it is going to be a miss. Another thing I've noticed is that a lot of people want to zone with this character, and this character can zone, but I think he's a lot worse at zoning than a lot of other characters that have the capability to zone, because he is already a 110 character, so he's already slow, and he slows down even more whenever he goes to attempt his power. So I think overall, whether you're going for shots and just missing, or you're trying to just hold power to zone, I feel like you overall just lose so much distance on this character, and that's kind of one of the pain points where this character does feel weaker. So if you go into it thinking, oh, I just want to zone to get my hits, like you're gonna have a rough time, because this character, which I think is a positive, really encourages you to use your power. You're really not encouraged to zone people in just M1, even though that capability is still there. It feels more punished than other characters have the capability to zone. However, my point being is that these are a lot of things that people like and attribute as positive traits to their lower skill floor characters that they enjoy. I don't see them as negatives, I see these traits as positives. Being forced to use your undergate and choke points is a good thing. Being forced to actually use your power and hit it over just zoning, I think is a good thing. I always think it's better when a character is encouraged to use their power as much as possible and not just use it as a way to cheese hits. But you may be caught off guard as somebody who just wants to hop on and play the hot new Stranger Things character, and they're not really that easy to play. Although I will say there is one thing that I actually don't enjoy about Vecna that much, and is that when people are really good at dodging your vine attack, it feels miserable. It can feel rough. I feel like I had like literally like psychic survivors today that every single 50-50 I would throw at them, they would just guess right every single time. And I just kept finding myself at a loss of like, if they just guess every 50-50 right every single time, like, what do you do? What is this character's answer to that? Because usually when a character has like, you know, like Dracula's a perfect example. If the survivors are just like giga-brained at dodging the Hellfire, you have wolf form, or you can try to like catch up to them using bat form. Like you have other stuff. But Vecna's other thing, the Undergate, is, like we were talking about earlier, niche in the use of its offensive capabilities, and is mostly a movement tool. So it feels, what I'm worried about, and I'm not going to say this is what's happening because it's day one. What I'm worried about is that this might end up being a situation just like Springtrap, where a lot of content creators thought Springtrap was really good off the bat. But as survivors began to act more and more random against them and really started being weird, the necessary accuracy of his power for his orbitals and stuff like that really started to drag him lower and lower and lower down the tier list. Because you could be the best Springtrap in the world, but because the axe is fairly accurate, which is even for the most part a good thing, if somebody's behind the wall and you're trying to orbital them and they're just wiggling their mouse, there is no way to really anticipate that. If they are truly random, there is nothing you can do. And I hope this character doesn't fall to that same pitfall, because that would suck. Another amazing positive, STEGALL is gone. STEGALL has been removed from the game. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Nancy and Steve got new voice lines. All of their grunts, their screams, the important part, have been redone with new voice actors. And as a result, Steve's voice when he screams is actually pretty tame. He just kind of like gasps very alarmingly. He has gone from the patented meow to the and it's like, it's kind of funny when it happens, but for all the STEGALL individuals out there who would spam meow, 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 meow all game, I'm pretty sure you were just annoyed just hearing me do my rendition of it. It is very, very obnoxious. It was like funny, like the first 2 or 3 times that I ran into it. I'm like, wow, gosh, he really won't shut up. Wow. But after that, it just became extremely grating, and I hated that it has been a mainstay meme in the Dead by Daylight community for so long. Because, okay, I'm gonna level with you here. What is the joke? What is the joke here? Steve scream very loudly, but also a lot. Like, where's the punchline? Where's the funny part? There is no funny aspect to it. It's just annoying. And I don't remember the last time that I was like, oh, annoying equals funny. Maybe the last time I thought that was good humor just to annoy people was back in middle school. But I'd like to think we've all matured a little bit more since that time all the way back then. It's like when I was a little kid. I was like 3 to 4 years old. One of my favorite jokes to tell was I would take something that obviously did not require batteries and go like cereal. Batteries not included, because back in the day on TV, there were a lot of commercials that would be like, oh, this new sick toy, batteries not included. And they would always say that at the end. And as a kid, I thought that was funny. So I would go up to my parents and I'd be like, cereal, batteries not included. And then my parents, they would laugh, they would chuckle, especially coming from a little guy, a little cute guy. They were like, oh, that was kind of funny. That was kind of clever. But I would say it over and over and over and over and over again. You know who stopped finding it funny? My parents. You know who was right to stop finding it funny? My parents, because it was only funny once or twice. I don't know. I've seen a lot of people like mourning STEGALL out there on DVD social media today, but like that kind of deeply worries me because like either A, you don't understand what it's like to play killer and just have nonstop in your ear every 2 seconds, or B, you for some reason think being annoying is hilarious, which would concern me more. Anyways, back to round out the positives, Vecna's perks are a dream. These have not changed from the PTB to live, so if you watch that video, you already know what I'm about to say. It's been such a long time, genuinely, since we've had a character that all 3 teachables are valuable and good. I think the last time we had a character like this was like Artist, and that was like 2021, right? Because I was going to say Pinhead, but Pinhead came out before them. That was like August, September of 2021. And that was the last character I was like, oh yeah, all 3 of these perks, good, amazing, excellent. And now we have another one. So even if you don't plan to play Vecna, he's a great character to get just so you can get all the great teachables on all the different characters. Turn Back the Clock is a great, easy to use slowdown that can be activated remotely, but it's balanced by only being 10% and not being able to be used through walls. Unless you're the Xenomorph for some reason who can, while they're in range, use it from the tunnels, which is odd. I'm pretty sure that's a bug. I tried to report it. It went through anyways, so hopefully that gets fixed soon. Or it's intended, and I should probably make a video about it. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. Secret Project is a perfect companion perk to gen blocking perks like Corrupt, Dead Man Switch, etc. I used it with Thrilling Tremors, which was really fun. So basically anytime I would down and pick up somebody to hook them, I was having Undetectable every single time, which was pretty cool. I like the way that my buddy Horser put it, is like, hey, nobody's pre-running me every single time I approach a gen, which is very, very true and very, very great. Hive Mind is definitely like the least cool of these, but it gives you the cool gen intensity aura reading add-on that Wraith and Xenomorph have, except you can now just run this on any character because it's now giving to you in the form of a hex perk. Now for the negatives. As I feared, the teamwork perks being Prove Thyself was in fact annoying today, and I absolutely felt it in my games. Both of the teamwork perks that came with both Dustin and 11, they have a main effect that they both do, but the thing that is the same about them is they both come with a 5% extra gen speed bonus when you are working on the gen with at least one other person. Prove Thyself, which is the bigger version of this perk, is already very, very annoying, especially when stacked with other notorious unnerfed gen rush perks like Hyper Focus Stakeout. So now having these in addition to those is making my games feel really, really fast, regardless of whether I win or lose, and I think that just makes games boring when they go so quickly that I don't even notice them happening. Even in the matches where I play really, really well and I have good gen pressure, I still found those matches getting really, really close, even though it didn't feel earned that the survivors were that close to winning. Every time I checked the lobby in one of those games that was really close, I either saw a really strong toolbox, one of those perks, and sometimes both. And as you saw in the intro example, people are running full build loadouts to try and capitalize off of these new gen rush perks, and they're trying to shred through gens as quick as possible using the teamwork perks. I don't even know what you're supposed to do against these kind of perks if you're somebody like Ghostface or Sadako. I mean, I guess Sadako you can try to condemn, but if they know how to counter that, like, good luck. Either way, if you're like a C tier killer, this stuff's really, really obnoxious, and I feel like the only characters that are going to be able to handle this consistently are characters that are already moderately or very much good. If you're somebody who's kind of on that teeter-totter zone of like, oh, I think I'm kind of bad, you're probably gonna have an awful time. The whole point of survivors having an efficiency penalty in the game when they stack gens is to make that playstyle a little bit more inefficient and encourage people to spread out and potentially ergo interact with the killer by running into them. However, the more that perks like these come out, the more that doubling gens just becomes good. And what happens when, just grouping up in one area away from the killer becomes good. You know what happens when that happens? That means less gameplay happens and the games go by quicker without the two sides interacting as much as possible. And that is a bad way for the game to be going. Listen, I know that gen speeds aren't actually faster, but survivors are saving a lot of time that they should be spending on other things that have now been shortened by roundabout buffs. Things I'm thinking of are like healing with botany knowledge, resurgence, that sort of thing. Another great example are exhaustion perks, because those are happening more often thanks to vigil and ghost nodes. So essentially survivors are spending less time healing, less time moving around the map, and that saved time they're spending on gens, because match time is gen time. So the fact that we're adding even more perks to encourage even less interaction with the killer so we can do gens as quick as possible and make the matches as short as possible, quite frankly, doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I think that the perks, the perfect perk examples of this that already exist, like Prove Thyself, Hyperfocus Takeout, are already corny and lame. So the fact that there are now new versions of this we have to contend with, I don't get it. I'm not trying to make this video about like how Gen Rush is silly, but if I could say one final thing about it, I think generally what makes slowdown less frustrating than Gen Rushing is that almost all slowdown is earned somehow. You have to hook somebody, you have to down somebody, you got to do something. But in addition, slowdown also makes games last longer, whereas Gen Rush basically makes games fly by, and sometimes it feels like you spent more time in queue than you did actually playing the game. And I do not agree with that as a healthy direction for the game to be going. But hey, I told you the PTB, I saw this coming, and I saw it today, and I'm sure you did too. Another thing I've seen is that a lot of people are upset that this chapter didn't come with any balance changes at all. And honestly, hot take, I'm kind of cool with that. I mean, just think about the Crossu chapter, the mid chapter after that, those balance changes. Whew, I'm still thankful that we didn't get those, because I think those changes unironically would have slowly killed the game of Dead by Daylight. I'm not fibbing or exaggerating for entertainment value or anything like that. I genuinely think that those aggressive anti-tunnel, anti-slug, anti-killer changes, because that's what they were, let's call them what they are, they were anti-killer changes, I genuinely think those would have slowly killed the game over time. I feel like we would have had the fabled situation that a lot of killer main grifter content creators have tried to push to you for a while, which is the game is a 4v1, you need the 1 to play with the 4. If you make the 1 quit, then nobody's going to be able to play. Like, usually when people are saying that, they're exaggerating or farming your negative feelings about the killer role in order to get views and engagement and all that. But like, legitimately, these were the real deal. These were the actual 100% real certified changes that were so anti-killer that, yeah, I feel like we would have all slowly quit over time. Once again, thankfully those were rejected, even though we had to do it twice, which was interesting. Thankfully those have been rejected. Thankfully those are not coming back, and I am still very thankful that that happened, that we are not going to have to deal with that. And so if we just have a chapter drop that's just like, yeah, we'll focus on the big balance changes in the mid chapter, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm glad you didn't try to blow up the game again. We're great. This is awesome. Thank you. I would much rather have a situation where, especially, if anything, especially because of that, how that situation went, that the very next chapter after rejecting those is just kind of a safe chapter to go, hey, we're not going to try something like that again. We have learned our lesson. We're not going to do that again. This is our token of, hey, we're moving on. From me to you. I appreciate that. I think it's great. Yeah, TLDR is, I know that it might be boring or unexciting that there's not big balance changes in this chapter, but I think it's a relief, because I think it says to me that we're hitting the reset button and we're not going to be doing stuff that was really scary from last year. But yeah, that's all I got, and I'm still pretty sick, as I'm sure you can hear, so I'm gonna rest up. Thank you all for being you, thank you for being here, and thank you for being lovely. Please make 2026 a good year for yourself and for everybody in your life that loves you and cares about you. Thank you for watching this video, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. But if I don't see you there, I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.